All right, hello, and welcome back to the Avoiding Average podcast. My name is Susan Gates, your host, and today I am really excited because we have a special guest with us. Her name is Stefanie Caponi, and please correct me if I butchered that, by the way. And she is an astrologer, a tarot reader, and an author as well. So I am really excited about bringing her on today because her book, Guided Tarot, is one of my favorite tarot guides out there, and really the one that I think I had resonated with the most. And so I'm excited to have her here today and share more about her and her journey to becoming an author, a tarot reader, an astrologer, everything. So Stefanie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. I'm very excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, me too. So I guess first off, I know I just did a brief introduction to you, but I know there's so much more to that. And so if you would like to, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about you and what you do and maybe how you got there too.
Well, it's quite a story. I will try to make it as brief as possible. I was did not set out with the intention of becoming an author or becoming a tarot reader or even being in the spiritual sphere. I Once upon a time I was a hairdresser and a magazine illustrator, kind of
Oh,
side hustle. So I worked 7 days a week and I was completely burnt out, but I loved the money and the freedom that I had. And I was previously married, and I just one day everything just kind of fell apart. And out of nowhere, I ended my marriage and then decided to quit the jobs, then decided to give away everything I owned. And I was just like, everything I'm doing in my life is not working for me. And it was just like a snowball. And I was like, I'm just getting rid of it all. And the only thing that really, nothing made sense. And the only thing that made sense was reading tarot every day, all day, and writing and journaling. I didn't have the support of my friends and family during that time. They were like, you are effing crazy. You're like, you have the best life where you were so happy. Like nobody saw, I didn't see it coming either, even though like I had intuitively felt it for many years. And I just finally did something about it. So I moved to New York by myself. And it was the first time I had ever lived alone as an adult in my mid 30s. And that's kind of where I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out why I felt so controlled and needed to like build this life that was for everybody but myself.
Yeah.
And in my obsession with tarot, I started to want to read everybody's cards. If you were my friend, I was like, let's read your cards. I need to know. And it was kind of the same thing with astrology. I had my first professional astrology reading and it blew my mind. And then I was like, well, I need more. And so I would just study and study and study. And I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to read a chart. I'm going to read my own chart. I'm going to read the transits. And then it was like all right there, spelled out right in my chart. Like, this is going to happen when this planet goes to this part of your chart, then, your relationship will probably end and everything that isn't, authentically you is going to fall apart. And it kind of went hand in hand with Carl Jung's individuation process and everything just kind of made sense. And it became a business. And I started making my own tarot cards as a healing project. And then people wanted to buy them. And I was like, they all have pictures of me on them. Like, this is an autobiographical healing project. I don't understand, but so it was just taking more risks and stepping in the direction that felt interesting and scary. And then you just turn around and you're like, okay, now this is what we do. This is my life.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's an incredible story. I think a lot of people, especially when they're making big shifts in their lives, are kind of met with this resistance, this idea of like, oh my God, I don't even know what's going to happen next. And in your case, that was very, very much the case, right? So it takes a certain amount of bravery and trust to know, like, follow that intuitive guidance as well. So you had mentioned before that you were a hairdresser and then you were also an illustrator. The title of the podcast is Avoiding Average. And so what was that like, the average life that you envisioned for yourself when you were younger, or how did that kind of play out for you?
So my wonderful family of origin is very much you finish high school and you go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then we don't really respect that.
Mm,
And I didn't really care about college that much. I was like, I'm an artist. Do I need a degree to do this? And I thought, you know what? I could be a hairdresser because that's something I could do with my day that's creative and fun. And I get to
mm-hmm.
yap all day and work with my hands and not sit on my butt. And it seems really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were like, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have this money for you to go to college with. And if you decide to be a hairdresser, then you can figure out a way to pay for it on your own. And we'll just take that money and it's ours now.
Mm.
And so I was like, well, if you're giving me this opportunity, I don't want to disappoint you. So I went to college
Okay.
and got my bachelor's of fine arts.
Nice.
And I hated it. I hated college. It was awful. It was not the experience that I had thought it was going to be. I mean, I'm obviously glad that I went and like I see the benefits of it, but as a 18 to, 21-year-old kid, I was like, this is a waste of time. I graduated. I felt unqualified to do anything. And I ended up an office manager
Mm. Okay.
making coffee and copies.
Mm.
And I was so bored. It was so unexciting. And I remember making it to like my 1 year evaluation. And I was like, I'm going to get a raise and everything will be fine. And instead, what happened was the housing crisis had happened because I was working for a mortgage company.
Right.
And they were like, we can't give you a raise. You're lucky we're going to keep you on and continue your job. You should be grateful for
Goodness.
that. And then a couple months go by and I was, hey, let's revisit that because I really don't think I can work here anymore without a raise. And they were like, actually, we can't afford you anymore, but we're going to kick you over to our family company and you can work for them in a completely different business that was even more boring.
Oh gosh.
And I was like, I can't, and I just like up and quit my job.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to beauty school. It's what I always wanted to do. And when I made that decision, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills because now I'm not making any money. And a job appeared for me. And beauty school at the time was like private places that you could go and it was like 30 grand or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to take out
Yeah.
loans. And then somebody was like, I went to the community college.
Mm.
They have a program. And so I went and I immediately got into their program. And it was $3,000 and you paid
Oh
per
wow.
semester. So it was like $150 a semester. It was like super cheap. It was like stupid cheap
Yeah.
and very doable. And just the everything kind of like the universe really supported that. And I was so
Mhm.
scared to tell my family and they were surprisingly extremely supportive.
Oh wow.
So
That's
it was just
amazing.
like, it was a lot in my head. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself and fear of judgment from others. But when I felt confident about my decisions and I just went for it,
Mhm.
then everything and everyone kind of supported it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing that you had that support. Because I think a lot of people they make these changes in their lives and it's not usually supported by their family or who have like these high hopes or dreams for their kids. And so uh, that, that I love that you had that during that time.
Thank you. Me too. I think they were just like, okay, she's going to get a job.
She's serious about that.
And
Yeah.
she's serious. She's paying for this herself. She's not asking for a handout. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, everybody in my family, they like my sister's a pharmacist, my brother's in public health. Like there's just, muggle jobs. And so to avoid the average, I think really when I had been working at that, hair salon and kind of was going through this like awakening of sorts to my own spiritual sense of spirituality and like what it meant to be who I'm here to be and realizing that like that career path wasn't for me and not really knowing what it was supposed to be, but just saying, you know what, I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. It's like I think I wrote this in my upcoming book. I was like, okay, hey mom and dad, I'm moving to New York and I'm going to be a full-time witch.
And how did they take that?
And they were like, okay, we don't really know what to do with this information, but As long as you're not asking us for money and you're going to figure it out, like you are the cat with nine lives, you'll land on your feet.
Yeah. So they had kind of had, I guess, a little bit of a primer of you, before moving to New York, of just kind of doing your own thing and basically forging your own path in a sense. And so that's amazing that you're able to do that and have the bravery and courage to do that too. Because I think that's where a lot of us kind of get stuck. I was in the corporate world for 15-ish years almost, and
Mm,
it's sticky, right? Like you get into this world where it's fairly comfortable, I guess. Maybe not exciting, but it provides you the comforts of a stable life.
stability.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you tell people that you're walking away from all of that, they kind of just look at you and they're like, "Why? Why would you do that?" So it's I think having the courage to do that is incredible.
Thank you.
So you had gone basically from having this an office manager job, you went to leaving that behind and pursuing beauty school. And then from there, how long did you spend as a hairdresser before you decided to leave all that behind and go on this new journey?
9 years.
Okay. Okay.
And that was like when you get into, the beauty industry, that was a scary thing because that's not a stable paycheck either. That's
Mm-hmm.
you work on commission,
Mm-hmm.
or at least the place I worked, it was commission based and you have no clients. So it's kind of like, oh, how am I gonna attract those people to me?
Mm-hmm.
And um, especially like I worked in a huge salon that had 100 employees and
Oh
it
wow.
was departmentalized. So I only cut hair. I didn't do any color.
Okay.
And so I'm like, there's 20 other people that just cut hair. And I'm the youngest one and the newest one. And very quickly, an opportunity came to go to New York to become a specialized stylist for curly hair.
Oh,
And nobody
okay.
was doing that because we lived in Florida. It was all about keratin treatments, flat ironing your hair so pin straight, no humidity. And I was like, no, I have like big, I have like
Wavy curls.
Fran
Yeah.
Drescher's hair, like embrace it, don't
Mm-hmm.
fight it. It felt like the more natural approach to me of like,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's the beauty industry, but why are we like trying to be something we're not instead of
Mm-hmm.
enhancing and embracing what we already have? So
Yeah.
somehow talked that you were supposed to have 5 years of minimum experience to go. And I somehow talked my bosses into sending me after I'd, been a stylist for like 4 months.
Wow.
I was like, fake it till you make it. And they sent me and I passed the class. I came back and they put you on a website. So if anybody is, Googling this particular hair, curly hair, and wherever, I would come up. I was on the big company's website, and all of a sudden I had a full book of clients, and my haircuts were the most expensive in the salon.
Nice.
Like, so it's
Nice.
just kind of these like magical seize a moment if you're
Mm-hmm.
walking through fear. Like, I'm going to take this scary thing because a lot of people, even myself included, we have this like fear of, oh, I don't have enough certifications to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have enough experience. I didn't go to school for that. I'm brand new and there's a million people that have been doing it forever and they're better. And that's absolutely an illusion in your own head, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're proof of that, aren't you? Like that's I love that though because I think there are so many opportunities that come to us and it may be just like they may seem minor initially, but I do fully believe that I think a lot of people kind of get in their own way of maybe thinking that they're not good enough or that they can't do that yet or they have to jump through certain loops before they can get there. But just taking that opportunity and just trying, I think, is kind of the key to unlocking that new path. It's like the whole quantum leaps and things like that, right?
Absolutely.
So you were able to do that, and you were able to fill up your I don't know, client roster. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but um, I'm not super familiar with the beauty industry. But and how did the magazine illustrator part of it kind of come into it? Because I know that you illustrated your own tarot deck, so that I think that has something to do with it, right?
It was another one of those like you see the opportunity and I felt it in my body and I
Mm-hmm.
just went for it. It was a random client came in. I had had a cancellation and
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "Hey, can you take this, this woman for she's getting a blowout." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And I do, and you think you're going to have like a break and sit and have a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, let's get in the games. I get this woman in my chair, and it was just one of those magical moments where the energy and you're vibing and it's so fun. And she's
Mhm.
telling me this like incredible story of how she lived in New York and worked in the magazine world, la la la, editorial side. And she
Nice.
was taking a chance on love. And she's like, I
Mhm.
think I'm moving down here for love, but I also need to make sure I have a job. And there's this big media company that's right here in Boca Raton, Florida,
Oh.
of all places. And so I have a job interview and I just need my hair done. And so I did her hair, didn't think about it. And 2 weeks later, she came back for another appointment and she was like, You're my hair girl. I got the job. I love it. La, la, la. We're chatting. And she's like, Oh, we're looking to hire a watercolor illustrator. But
Oh.
the woman that we really want to hire is on maternity leave. And she's like, You're an artist, right? She's like, you do watercolor, right? And I was like, yeah. And I had not done a watercolor since maybe high school.
Wow.
It was not a medium that I worked with,
Mhm.
but I was familiar with it.
Mhm.
And she showed me some pictures and she was like, This is the vibe that and the aesthetic we're looking for. Like, can you do this? And I was like, Absolutely. And she was like, Okay, well, just give me your website and I'll send it to my editor and we'll see. And I was like, Oh, website? I don't have one of those. And she was like, All you need to do is just get all like go home and take pictures or scan in. This is like, 2011. So we're like
Mhm.
low tech. Put all your stuff in a Pinterest
Mm.
album and title it, your portfolio and send it to me. So I did that night. I put all my stuff and seeing it all together online, I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, and then, very quickly, I had this job working as the in-house illustrator at an interior design magazine.
That's amazing.
And I worked Wednesday through Sunday doing hair, and I worked Mondays and Tuesdays from home doing illustrations I think I did it for almost 4 years, for 4 years. And I made just as much money doing the illustrations as I did. It was
Hmm.
like I doubled my income. And it was
Wow.
the coolest thing until I realized I was so burned out.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my questions, like, because it sounded like you were really enjoying those two things, but what it's on burnout, I guess. Was that the main reason why you decided to leave that behind?
I wasn't ready. You mentioned quantum leaping, and part of a quantum leap is being able to get your nervous system to catch up
Mm.
with the changes. And I just wasn't quite there. I wasn't ready emotionally to leave the hair job.
Mm.
And I wasn't ready to full time take the leap into illustrating because I didn't like the idea of like hiring somebody to build a website for me and investing all that money and like getting all the stuff that I would need. Like it just seemed too daunting. And my ex husband was like, You're doing two full time jobs plus this partnership, and our relationship is suffering. You need to pick. And
Mm.
so I let go of the illustration job
Mm.
because I felt too scared to leave all the clients.
Mm.
And especially after that company had put so much into backing me and my education. And I couldn't disappoint people and like choose the thing I was really passionate about, which was the art.
Yeah.
So I picked the husband and the hair. And within a year, that's when I had like my meltdown and left all of it.
Yeah.
So there's no wrong choices. I think like a lot of people too, they're really afraid, like, oh, what if I make the wrong decision? What if I choose the wrong thing? And it's like there's no wrong choice because I think if I would have picked the illustration, I would have run up against the same things because it wasn't quite right. It was
Mm.
closer, but
Hmm.
it still wasn't quite right.
Yeah.
It was the deadlines were like publishing deadlines for magazines was insane.
Yeah. Adds a lot more pressure to, I guess, the creative process, which usually doesn't work great with timelines, in my opinion. But
Totally. And that work, like the subject matter didn't light
Definitely.
me up. So
Okay.
I really think like it's all roads will lead you where you need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good point too. I think a lot of people get, at least me personally too, is that what is analysis paralysis, or the decision,
Yes.
getting stuck in trying to decide or making the right choice, or and really I feel like, you kind of know intuitively in your heart like where it is you want to go, and it's just the path doesn't necessarily seem as clear, and I think that creates a lot of fear.
Yes, 1000%. And I think that's how Taro and I became so close, is
Mm-hmm.
because there was no clear path. And I didn't have the time or the resources to be in analysis paralysis.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So were you using tarot when you were a hairdresser as well, or did that come into your life after you decided to leave?
I mean, I started reading tarot when I was like 14,
Oh,
but I
okay.
didn't
Nice.
really know a lot about it. This was like pre-internet because I'm from the late 1900s.
Sounds weird to say that, isn't it?
It's so
Also
funny.
born
I
in.
like kind of I like love saying that. So there weren't the online resources, and there wasn't even
Mhm.
like metaphysical shops, and it wasn't something that was like widely talked about. So it was just something that I did myself for funsies. And then when all of a sudden everything kind of fell apart, and I turned around and we had Instagram and blogs and all these things and people talking, and so there was a lot more content readily available, and
Mhm.
so I had better resources and a brand new understanding of what tarot was actually for,
Mhm.
which I think is a personal development tool.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of agree with that, and I think I would love for you to dive into that a little bit more, because I know there are a whole slew of different opinions on what tarot is and is not for. So I'd love to hear your own opinion of that.
Thank you. So for me, it is a personal development tool. The way that we are all raised in our patriarchal society is that pushing forward and persevering is the only way of like taking, like being constantly in action,
Mm,
which I call masculine energy,
yes.
which is in a non-gender way, but there's little regard for feminine energy and the importance of having the balance of the two.
Mhm.
So I think that for having tarot as your, it's like going to the gym for your intuition. And it's helped me unlearn my own internalized misogyny and all of these things about not regarding feminine energy as being just as important as masculine energy.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. You touched on something really powerful. It's like the internalized misogyny, I think, that we're all kind of brought up with, and
Yeah.
that's a tough one to follow, or unpack too, really. And I mean, me myself, I know that I kind of embody a lot of the masculine traits sometimes, because it's like, do really well, work really hard, go achieve, and those sort of things. And so really tapping into more of the femininity, more of the intuition, of the emotional sides has been a big part of my journey over the last few years. And so I'd love to hear, how has tarot helped you with that?
So tarot has helped me learn how to be in those quiet moments
Mm,
and learn that that is where co-creation with the universe exists. You have to give it breathing room. So if you're always, running after your goals, that's where rigidity is created.
mm, mm,
And so unlearning all of that is and letting things show up. It's not a lucky girl syndrome. It's really just learning how to, when I want something, learning how to say, okay, I've put it out there that this is what I want.
mhm,
I've, you know, I've proclaimed it, I've claimed it, and now the work isn't going and chasing after it. It's not, working on my marketing and working on my branding and like trying to promote myself, la, 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 la. La. That is going right back into everything that I left.
mm.
I'm not going to treat my 9 to 5 burnout life in this work because this work doesn't operate on those timelines and that energy. What I need to do is I need to focus on how to prepare my nervous system to handle that quantum leap,
Mm.
which is what I wrote a whole book about.
So is that your new book that's coming out?
Yeah. So the book is called Tarot for Manifestation. It's basically using how to use tarot for personal growth, personal development, and being your like, oh my God, I'm like having a panic attack because nothing is happening. I don't know what, the path is not clear. Like I need to learn how to like relax and
Mm-hmm.
be quiet and let the things come.
Mm. Yeah, that is potent advice, I'd say. I think a lot of us get stuck in this rat race, especially if you've been like in a corporate job, because that's just kind of how it works, right? You got to get stuff done and keep working hard to prove your worth in a sense. And this is like a completely different world, right? And that letting go and just letting life, not say, I won't say happen, but just living life, enjoying like life as it's happening, and without stressing about the outcome of everything and how everything's going to happen, or chasing everything, is super important, I think. Even a lesson that I'm still working on as well, to be completely honest.
It's I really think it's something that it comes in waves, when you have this like internal intuitive knowing that your life is about to change, you can feel it's almost like I feel like I have more to give. I have like I'm ready to put more on my plate. I'm ready to put something different,
Mm,
whether it's I'm ready to be in like a serious relationship, or I'm ready to start a family, or I'm ready to have my own business, or I'm whatever it is that you can feel in your body is coming. You're gonna default into the ways that you've done in the past. Like,
mm,
okay, I'm ready. Like, I feel ready. Let the thing come. Let me like start
yeah,
doing all the things. And then you're going to run up against all the delays and all the resistance. And then all the shadow comes up
mhm,
where you're like, everybody's so much further ahead of me. And you start comparing, or you get really jealous of somebody, or, old shit that you thought you'd healed from comes up. And then, then we're like, oh, nope, I can't do this.
mhm,
And it's like, no, that's where we need to lean in, because it's not, learning SEO and how to write copy and how to, make all your things on Canva and schedule your posts. And no, that's not it. I guarantee that if you're following the things and just working on preparing your nervous system to handle it and taking like the next like little tiny step towards something, then that's when doors start opening, opportunities start presenting themselves, and the people that need to hear from you find you.
mm,
And it doesn't happen so fast. I think because of how quick things move on the internet, we think that's how fast our life should move when we want something. Now think about, I know you have children, I have children. It takes your body 9 months to build a human.
yeah,
And then it takes years to get back to yourself postpartum.
yeah,
So why are we trying to become millionaires overnight and build these giant, like, what do you real like, what, instead of like, this is why I use tarot. And that's like the first thing that when you're manifesting or goal setting, whatever you want to call it, ask your tarot deck, what is the underlying need I'm trying to have met by this thing that I think is going to solve my problems or
mm,
make me feel a certain way? Like, what feeling am I actually looking for?
yeah,
Are you looking for certainty? Are you looking for safety? Are you looking for connection? And then once you identify that, which tarot has helped me identify those things and separate myself from my ego for external validation, like, oh, am I really just looking for like my dad to be proud of me?
That's a big one for a lot of people, I
Yeah.
think, myself included. Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, how can I find little moments to feel that every day? Because I know that whatever the thing is that I'm going after, I will inevitably get there, but only if I heal what's between me and that first.
Yeah. So, what would you say if it's like people who don't really know what it is that they need to heal? Do you feel like tarot is something that can help bring that up for them as well?
Yes. That's kind of how I discovered shadow work. And in the book, I put every chapter, it's like every step of the manifestation process, and then how to kind of go through it, and then a tarot spread to help you navigate it. So, one of the shadow work tarot spreads is based on what I would do, where I would just wake up in the morning and I would clear my energy, take some deep breaths as best as I could. And I would just shuffle my deck and I would ask, what shadow aspect wants to come up today for me to see it,
Mm,
witness it, and heal it? And then I would pull a card and I wouldn't look at it. I would just put it down and I would say, okay, how can I show up to this? Like, what can I do? And then just kind of a message of, if I'm not asking the right questions, what do I need to know?
mm,
And then as you flip the cards over one by one. So, for example, the shadow aspect is the Two of Pentacles. And just looking at the artwork, you can see this person is standing on one foot trying to juggle these two pentacles that are connected, with this infinity symbol. So to
mm,
me, that's like a work-life balance.
mm,
How do I balance it all?
yeah.
And then I think like, oh, in the past, I totally, threw that away. Work-life balance. No, I was completely dedicated. I picked one.
Yeah.
I picked pleasing everybody but myself because I wanted to be recognized. I was looking for that validation. I was looking for that safe paycheck. I was looking for, you know, this rooted back to, I want my parents to be proud of me and see, look, you can be an adult and you can handle things.
Mm,
Or whatever it is for you. But those were like, I would journal about all the stuff that came up. When I
yeah.
see that card, those were the things that just came up.
Yeah.
And then pulling out the second one and being like, Ten of Pentacles. Well, you start at the beginning and then you
Mm,
want to be here. So it's
mm,
like just kind of using that, like it's almost like art therapy.
mm,
Like what comes up when you see the images,
yeah.
trying to figure out, just looking at these two cards together, you can see it looks like a couple and a child and a pet and an older adult sitting there. So it's like, I want to be able to have the life that I want to have and be able to have the love and support of my family. I want to be able to provide for the next generation, but I want it to feel good. There's our message from the universe, the Queen of Cups. And it's like, but you forgot all the water. You're so focused on the earth
Material.
element of the pentacles, material realm, and you forgot about your emotional regulation and your
Yeah.
feelings. And I really think that the four elements of tarot really play into that manifestation goal setting mindset of, you have the idea, which is swords, that's the air. And then you have to have your feelings behind it, and
Yes.
understanding your mental and, your body mind connection of water. And then you have to take action, which are wands and fire. And then
Mm,
finally, the slowest moving element is earth. So the manifestation comes last. So it's like you have to believe it before you see it.
I love that description of how all the four elements work together. Oh gosh, because I think when people who are new to tarot or astrology, they hear that the elements, right? And it's just it doesn't really make sense. And like, okay, yeah, these signs are fire or whatever, these are water, but what does it mean? What does it all come out to? So I love the way that you described that.
Thank you. Astrology, there's so much to unpack there.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh
have
yeah.
any 12th house planets?
I do
Are you a
not.
12th houser?
No, no, my daughter does though. So yeah. It'll be she's an interesting one. I mean, she's only 11 months old now, but it's definitely like one of those I can see there's something big that she's here to do in a sense. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes though.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see the next generation of like
Hmm.
children that come from very conscious parents.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing when I found out I was pregnant, I did the math and I was like, okay, what am I having?
Yeah.
What are all the planets and, you know, what is this going to mean? And when she was born and I did her chart, I was like, okay, I need to do her human design like
Hmm.
ASAP. She's a manifester. And I'm like, oh my
Nice.
God, that's like such a big,
Perfect.
powerful energy that I'm here
Yeah.
to support
Yeah.
as a generator.
Nice. So that's so interesting that it's like, so you're a generator
Hmm.
and you've been working toward this manifestation practice of like really being able to lean into that. And so it I honestly feel it's like a lot of the work that we do through our life, especially if we're having kids, is in order to support them in whatever they're here to do as well. And so I think I see that a lot in, reviewing my son's birth chart and my daughter's birth chart and like how everything kind of plays together. And so, like, oh yeah, I'm into all this because they're going to be using it in some way in their life in the future. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very fascinating. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we have all these spiritual tools that we use for ourselves, but
Hmm.
then we can, you know, in turn use it to show up better for our families
Hmm.
and friends and the people, the clients that we work with and, you know, people that we work for.
Yeah. Yeah. How has it been like for you? I know that, I mean, I'll be completely honest, this is something that I'm struggling with, and maybe it's just the phase of life I'm in with the age of my kids, but making the time for yourself. I know you mentioned that that being a key part of moving away from the grind, right? Is being sure that you're taking care of yourself too, as opposed to everybody else and everything else around you. How did you balance that, or how have you been working towards that?
So that's such a great question. And I'm really fortunate in the lifestyle that I have set up. I mean, I waited till I was 40 to have
Okay.
a kid. And I knew in my heart and I knew intuitively that the only way it was going to work for me is if I could make that the child the priority and not the business.
Mm,
But I also know that I have to create in order to feel satisfied in life.
hmm.
Um, my husband and I both work remotely.
Okay.
So he works from home. So in the mornings, and his company's based in California and we're on the East
Okay.
Coast. So he can start work a little later. So every morning I get up first with our daughter, who is,
Hmm.
you know, just over 2.
Nice.
And so I let him sleep in a little bit and he has to meditate. That's his thing. So he gets to do his morning meditation. And when he's ready, he comes out. I tag him in. He'll go take over with our daughter. And I get to come in the bedroom and do my morning practice,
Yeah.
which is a full hour of journaling
Mm,
and just getting it all out and doing all my tarot readings for the day and writing about all the stuff.
mm,
And making sure that I have that hour to myself and I get to get ready and he's got her. So that's how I've built that little like tiny daily routine of self-care for me that I'm so grateful to have because it sets the tone for how I'm able to show up for everything else.
yeah. Yeah. That's amazing that you're able to do that and that you have the support of your partner to do that too. I mean, was that was that difficult for you to carve out, or how was
Yeah,
that
I mean,
process like, or arranging that?
it's something that like it's in I think it's greatest state now, but you know, we've worked on that for 2 years. And in the beginning, I was pumping
Mm.
and I had a really low milk supply, so I had to do power hours every
Oof.
morning. And the
Yeah.
way that we did it was during the power hour, my husband would hold her and take
Mhm.
care of her, and I would journal while I pumped.
Okay. So that's a nice way to utilize that time because I think
Yeah.
for anyone who's had to do that, you're basically trapped with your pump for a full hour. And
Yeah,
it's not fun.
but I was like, okay, like I'm habit stacking.
Mhm. I love that. I love that you're able to turn that into like a you time sort of thing too. So maybe
But I
for anybody
remember
who's
like, yeah, use those. If you have to do something that's really boring, if you have free hands, you can kind of add that in.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember like writing my book proposal, like right when she was so small. I remember I laid on my bed with my laptop on my side while she nursed. So I had her on my boob and I was like trying to write, and you make it work because I was like, I have to, like,
Yeah.
I can't not do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's that visual is just so funny, but so I don't know. I think relatable in a sense too for anybody who's had kids is when when you're motivated to do something for yourself, it's like you'll figure it out.
You'll figure it
And,
out. I mean, I wrote that. I did the book proposal while I was nursing
mm,
her, and then when I sold the book and actually had to write the manuscripts, I really only had. We picked one day a week where my husband made it with his work that he could work later, so I would have 3 hours a day to go sit in a cafe and write my book.
mm,
So it
wow.
took a lot longer to write it than I normally would have, but
Yeah.
once a week I had 3 full uninterrupted grown-up hours to work on writing the book. And then during naps and at night after she would go to sleep, then I would like tinker around with it a little bit. But
Yeah.
there's finding those little moments and also remembering that like every stage of life that you're in is temporary.
Mm,
You know, it's so ephemeral. Like I'm like, I'm not going to need to hold her 24 hours a day forever. This is just like I will get back to my time of being able to journal in the morning and pull tarot cards and, pee with the door shut,
mhm.
take a shower, whatever it is. Like it's just learning how to like deal with each moment as it comes.
Yeah. So you had mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to dive in, but before I lose the thought, how did you manage taking the moment as it comes and really being able to kind of maybe let go of what else you felt like you should be doing and allowing yourself to really experience, the stickiness of some of those time frames where it's like it feels like the days are ages long and that you're never going to be able to go out and do whatever it is that you want to do. How was that like for you and what did you do to kind of get through that?
So it's such a great question. And it reminds me of when my now husband and I got together. All I wanted to do was be married. I was like,
Mm,
I'm too effing old to be a girlfriend.
mm,
I've been run around in the dating realm for so long. Like, I don't, like, I just, like, I need that.
mhm,
Like, I just need to know that we're married. And he was like, why are you rushing this process? He's like, we're going to be married forever.
mm,
You're going to miss this moment when we were just dating or we were just engaged. And we're in this like special time that's good. It's the shortest period of our relationship in the long run. And that stopped me and like knocked the wind out of me.
mm, yeah.
And I was like, shit. And I look back and I'm like remembering those small moments where we were making big plans for the future. Just we didn't have any kids and we were able to go to happy hour and have cocktails
Yeah.
and eat snacks and stay up late and watch a movie and not worry about like we could sleep in the morning and not be
Mhm,
like, okay, if I don't go to bed now, like I know I'm going to have a feeding. So
yeah.
I think about that and I'm like, even the hardest times I'm going to grieve them. My child's never going to be this small again, or even during like the worst time when I first moved to New York. And at that time, my parents weren't speaking to me and I lost a lot of friends and I didn't have a job or any connections. And I would just like walk for hours and hours and cry. And then I would come home and cry and I would read my tarot cards and I would cry. And I was so sad. And I was like, I can't believe that I took this leap of faith into this new life, and this is where I am. And this is so awful. And if I would have known it, I would have never done it. And I look back and now I don't see that pain. I see, oh my God, like that's when I found my first like in-person tarot community.
Mm.
That's when I met all these wonderful people. That's when I had all the time in the world to just figure out what I like. I think that just trying to find any tiny bit of gratitude you can for the present without trying to like rush ahead to the next thing
Mm.
and savor it a little bit. Or ask your tarot deck, what is this moment here to teach me about? Look, I pulled the Fool. Casual.
Yeah. That's that's funny because as you were telling that story of you being in New York, I was flipping through the book right before this, and I saw the page about how you created your own tarot deck and you illustrated it, and I was so drawn to the Fool card that you had on there, where you were there with the wand, and there was almost like a solemn expression on your face too that you had drawn out, and so it's funny that that came up. You pulled that up.
Like I said, that whole project was like, oh, like, oh, fuck, I did this. Now what do I do? And now, like, I've done this for, now it's coming up on 9 years since that. And I'm like, instead of like, oh my God, what did I do? Now I'm like, okay, what do you got for me?
Yeah. I love that you're in that mindset now of like, yay, let's see what's next instead of oh god, what's coming next.
And let me say, like, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. It's a lot of like deep stuff. Like in just this new book I have coming out, all the lead up to it, there's been a lot of shadowy things that I've been had to take on and stuff that's popped up that I've never experienced before. Like there was a person in a different country that took my tarot deck and changed it. Like they
Mm.
took my face off of the things and put their face on it and changed the artwork and sold it to a publisher.
Wow.
So, and there's nothing I can do because they changed the art ever so much that it's not considered plagiarism. And I had to like deal with that. Thank you. It really rocked me. And I could like for a couple of months and I was like, I'm not going to go rant about it because I could cry about it on the internet and get everybody against this person and, have my army of stans go ruin her life. And I'm like, I don't want that kind of energy. I was like, there's something here where I need to let this go.
Mm.
And I also need to like trust, like the whole justice card in tarot is teaching us the lesson there is that the universe will always restore the balance. It's not our responsibility to rain justice on people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't, and we, especially with like the climate that we're in right now in the United States and the world at large, you know, there's so many heartbreaking things that are happening. And it's like, okay, how can I be a part of the solution without trying to take justice into my own hands?
Yeah. So what did that look like for you then, as far as letting that go and being part of the solution, we'll say?
So a lot of people contacted me and said, hey, do you know that this is happening? This person is, doing this thing and they're threatening anybody that like speaks out again. And I was like, you know what? I don't need some like person from another country that doesn't have the same code of ethics as I do coming after me. I'm like, I trust that the universe has my back and I let it go. I stopped looking at things and obsessing over it and feeling victimized by it. And I think like the deck is got pulled from the shelves. Like it's not in circulation anymore. So I
Mm.
think they caught on to it, and the publisher probably was like, "Oh, we're not going to sell this."
Yeah.
So the problem corrected itself.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's only making me feel this badly because I'm staring at it all the time, you know?
Yeah.
If I turn away from it and I look in my immediate surroundings, like everything is fine and good. I'm
Mhm.
healthy. I have a roof over my head and my child is thriving and my marriage is good. And this actually has no impact on me
Mm.
other than my ego.
Mm. Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, I wonder if this has, connected to this new book that I'm putting out that's much more personal in nature than guided tarot or guided astrology.
Mhm.
And my fear of visibility and sharing my story and being judged and yada yada. So I think like whatever you're going for, whatever you're moving towards, like this stuff's gonna come up
Yeah.
and it'll be specific to you or whoever's listening to this. And remembering that like when that stuff comes up, it's not coming up to destroy you or to like make you stop pursuing what it is that you're passionate about and you believe in.
Yeah.
It's just trying to help you heal your shadow around having it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm sorry that that happened to you because I think that's hard for like any creator to put something that they put so much of their heart and soul into and then seeing it basically taken and changed and somebody else is benefiting from it or whatever where it's something that came
And
from you, right?
yes. And I think it happens a lot. And I see these things with people, and part of me feels that it happens to help creatives detach from the pedestal they put their creations on
Mm.
and reminding you that's not the biggest thing you're ever going to do.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I like that. I think I've in my life I think I've struggled with like the title of being creative um and I've noticed, I guess, in the past, like I love going all in on like creative projects and I really enjoy doing them. But then when it's done, I have a hard time letting go of it. Like I have a hard time, if it's for somebody else, I'm like, oh, but I really love it. And like this is, but really, I think a lot of the things that we're here to create are meant to be shared with the world in a sense, right? And so being able to detach from that, that's such a great way to put it. So I appreciate that perspective.
Thank you. Yeah, I had like a meditation, and like the insight that came from it was that the reminder that everything that we create comes from the universe.
Mm.
It channels through you, so it's not about you.
Mm. We're just a medium for it to flow through,
Yeah.
just like the watercolors or any other medium, I guess, that we use.
Yeah, so whatever it is, so instead of worrying about your reputation and your status and your follower count and all the things that we're chasing, remember that it's none of it matters. Like
Yeah.
the question is like, how can I show up and be that channel today? It's
Mm.
another great question to ask your tarot deck.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to keep that in my back pocket for later.
Yeah. So it's like, how can I be most of service today?
Yeah.
How can I be the clearest channel possible? And then it takes all the pressure off. Because then you're like, I don't care. I remember that if I'm just letting the things flow through me, then anybody who needs to hear it or engage with it will find it or it will find them.
Such wise insight.
Thank you. I think that's like really good too for people that have imposter syndrome, or feeling like they're new at something and they're not good enough or they're not gonna whatever. And it's like, one, you don't get what you don't ask for. So Eight of Swords, don't hold yourself back. And like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Which is another great question when you're like in analysis paralysis. Ask your deck, what's the worst thing that could happen in this moment?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it gives you like such a read. And you're like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like, what? Somebody's going to say no?
Yeah.
They say no. You don't have to take that personally. It's not a reflection. It's the universe telling you, hey, that wasn't going to be a good fit.
Hmm.
Let me direct you to the better fit.
Hmm. Hmm. It sounds like you have this deep trust in the universe and how things will unfold, and that things will really play out the way that they're supposed to, in a sense. And I think that in itself is like a huge part of manifestation, right? Is having that faith, which is hard, really hard, especially if you're used to trying to control things. But
And yeah, which
it's
I
part of the
think like
process.
that's the whole reason why tarot is so great because it helps you kind of take your grip off of things
Hmm. Yeah.
and remember that like the whole crux of manifestation is being a magnet. And the magnets draw things to them. They're not grabbing at it.
Do you feel like the writing your books was that like a manifestation for you, or did that just kind of come out of nowhere?
So the guided tarot, it was crazy. I was living in New York and it was like towards the end of my time there. And I was running all over the city, reading tarot at various functions, like doing moon circles and reading tarot on yoga retreats and all the things. And it was such a cool, like doing corporate stuff. It was awesome.
Oh wow.
And then the pandemic hit and everything went bye-bye because there was no in person. And at that time, like people weren't really doing a lot of virtual readings. It was like
Mm,
I did all in person stuff because there was
okay.
no shortage of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I still have all this rent to pay. And I, laid on the floor and cried for 2 weeks and was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life because I'm also that wasn't the only thing that was paying my bills at the time. I was also a nanny. And
Mm,
obviously there was, kids were home with the parents, nobody was working.
mhm,
So that job went away and I didn't qualify for unemployment.
mm,
And so after 2 weeks, I was like, okay, if I was a client that sat down in front of me and said that, what would I say? And I started laughing and I was like, oh my God, Stephanie, like, wake up. I would say the universe just cleared your schedule because something's trying to connect with you.
mm.
So then I got back into oh, I wonder what's trying to connect with me. And I swear, like within 3 weeks, I got a friend who was an editor at Candlewick Press asking if I had time to illustrate a book about tarot. It was like
Nice.
a 3-book series, like a young adult book. So I was like, yeah, I got plenty of time. So that was like, okay, this illustrations from this book are going to pay my rent for the next couple of months.
Hmm.
And then I got another email from an editor at Penguin Random House.
Nice.
And they said, hey, a client of yours is my best friend. They had a reading with you, loved it. They bought a copy of your deck and book for me as a gift. And I love your tone. And
Mm,
this was an unedited, self-published. I wrote this guidebook in 2 weeks and it ended up in the hands of an editor at Penguin Random House who said, hey, we're putting together a tarot guide that follows the Rider-Waite Smith and we're looking for a writer because we need the voice. Are you free? Can you write a book in like 3 months?
that's
And I was like, girl, I got nothing but time.
amazing.
Sign me up. So that was how I spent my pandemic, was working on these books. And that was my first job in literary publishing.
Oh my gosh. I love the way the universe works sometimes because it's like these little things, these little bits and pieces that kind of happen in the past that lead you toward, where you're going in the future. And so it's like, I don't think writing a book was on your radar, was it?
I've never taken a writing class in my life. It wasn't until 2016 when I got divorced and I started journaling every day and journaling about how I was so blocked creatively. And I was like, I don't understand. I have all this time. I have like all these feelings. I just want to make art. And I'm like writing, 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 not realizing that I was developing a writing practice.
Mm.
But I have Venus conjunct the North Node in my ninth house.
Oh, wow.
So during my first astrology reading, she was like, that's a publishing aspect.
Nice.
And I was like, "Oh, I don't know her." And now I'm like, I can't breathe without writing every single day. And I'm like, how did I live 30 something years not writing? And I was like, I was so focused and rigid about what I thought I was supposed to do that I missed this whole calling. And I think that
Mhm.
maybe a lot of people are like, maybe you haven't even tried your thing yet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an incredible way to look at it too, though, because it's like one of the last guests, she's a public speaker, and I don't think public speaking was even on her radar. And then an opportunity kind of dropped in her lap, and now that's what she does full time. And so
Wow.
I think that's an incredible example, another incredible example of just trusting that the things that are meant for you are going to find you if you're willing to take it.
Yeah. You're willing to, loosen that grip on of control and let the universe kind of bring stuff to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, to this day, your guided tarot book is my favorite. I love
Thank
your
you
writing
so
style,
much.
and everything is just so well put and succinct, and it's always been on point too. I think for the
Thank you.
meanings and how the spreads have been interpreted and everything. And so I love it. And for anybody else who's listening and needs a good tarot guide, highly recommend this one.
Thank you. I also wanted to just say that when my new book comes out, Tarot for Manifestation, it's written as kind of like you might be if you're brand new to tarot, it might feel intimidating to dive right into that before you know and have an idea of like what the cards mean,
Hmm.
but I wrote it for everybody. So the whole deck is not featured in the book.
Okay.
Like each step of the manifestation process, all the major arcana cards are explained in manifestation terms through it, and some of the minors, but the very end of the book, just like guided tarot has that quick reference guide in the back,
Hmm. That's
Tarot
very
of
cool.
Manifestation has one too, with all of the meanings of every single card's upright interpretations in terms of how to use it with manifestation. And
Wow,
there's a whole chapter of like spreads for all the subjects.
that's amazing. Well, I'm super
So
excited to look at your new book. When does that come out again?
that comes out July 29th. So you can
Coming
pre-order it
soon.
now. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank
Can
you.
you pre-order that on Amazon or is that on your website?
Amazon, Target. Yes, it's on my website and linked on Instagram. But yeah, anywhere you can buy books, you can get it. So if you have bookshop.org, we'll connect you to the indie sites.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
Stephanie, thank you so much. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
You can find me. I mostly live on Instagram at Moonvoid Tarot or Threads. My website, you can sign up. I have a newsletter that I'm not crazy, like spammy with it. I just, send it out when I feel like it, but I always give like a tarot card reading and a spread for people to work with that usually corresponds to the astrological season.
Nice. I love that. I love that.
Oh, can I just say one more tiny thing?
You're good.
So if you pre-order my book, hang on, star in your receipts. I'm working on sending out my landing page, but I'm going to be offering a free Tarot for Manifestation workshop
Nice.
for people who buy the book. So that'll be in July that it's happening, but all you have to do is, sign up on my landing page for it, which will be coming out soon, and you will get a ticket to that.
That's good to know. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to connect with you and chat with you in person. I know we've been Instagram buddies for a while.
Yes, likewise. I love that. Thank you for sharing your stories too. I think a lot of them were really deep and very impactful too. So I appreciate your vulnerability with that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's all that we have for today, but thank you very much and see you next week.